We're going to talk about the walking foot today, when and why you want to use it, how it works, and some of the attachments that may have come with your walking foot. I am embarrassed to tell you, mine sat in a drawer for years because I was intimidated by it. If you're like me, the walking foot is a gift to quilters. Not using it makes everything that you quilt much more difficult than it ever has to be. I have my two pieces of fabric I'm going to sew together. I have my presser foot, and we're going to pretend that this is my feed dogs. Now, we know that feed dogs are only moving that bottom piece of fabric. And as we sew, the top piece of our fabric is going to slip forward. We can put pins in it to prevent that from happening. Some machines have a dual feed, which is just a little piece that comes down and hooks on the back of your presser foot behind your needle, and it helps to keep that slippage from happening. That dual feed, however, is not going to help enough when you have multiple layers of fabric or you have batting. So here's my little quilt sandwich with my ends lined up. And when I run my sewing machine, you can see how much slippage there is when the only thing that's being pulled along is my bottom layer of fabric. The walking foot is what prevents this from happening. Your walking foot is going to have a little hook on the side. That is going to slide over the post that holds the screw that holds your needle in. So as your needle moves up and down, that hook is going to move these little gripper feet up and down with it. I took the presser foot off so you could see those move. These little gripper feet are going to mesh with your feed dogs and pull your top layer of fabric back through your needle at the same time that your feed dogs are pulling the lower layer of fabric through your needle. Because there's such a tight grip between those two in front of your needle, you're going to be restricted to sewing straight or gently curved seams with your walking foot. Different brands of walking feet come with different attachments. My particular one comes with 3 different presser feet. I have the open toe, the closed toed, and the stitch in the ditch that I just put between these 2 metal brackets and tighten down with a screw to attach. Anytime I'm working with a new presser foot, I want to know what marks the manufacturers put in place to help me. And I want to make sure that those marks are accurate. So for this particular one, I know that my needle is going to be right there in front of that one. And I've measured it out. If the edge of my fabric is here, that's going to give me an 1/8 of an inch seam. If it's here, that's going to give me 1/4 of an inch. And if it's out here on the edge, that's going to give me 1/2 of an inch. Manufacturers also put marks in this direction, so I know how far away the edge of my fabric going this way is when I stop sewing. So from my needle to this mark is 1/4 of an inch, and from my needle to this is 1/2 an inch. If you haven't checked your feet, I strongly recommend it. It makes everything much easier. I put two of my more unusual looking attachments on my walking foot so I can share with you what those are. One is this presser foot that has a blade in the front. That's a stitch in the ditch presser foot. When I want to stitch right in the ditch where I've joined two pieces of fabric, I just set that blade in the ditch and my needle's going to sew right along that line. If it's just a fraction off, there's a screw on the side that I can tighten or loosen to make it just perfect. The other attachment connects one of these contraptions on the back of my presser foot. These are seam guides for echo quilting. I can move them in or out to whatever distance I want on either the right or the left side. And that lets me then sew a seam a specific distance from the previous line of quilting. So I have a standard distance between different rows of quilting or echo quilting. I hope that you enjoy your walking foot as much as I enjoy mine, and thank you for spending time with me today.